let's get on to the Brown government. I was really proud, as a Greens candidate, to set up my blog the other night. Took a bit of work, and I've worked out the IT, and I've got some help, and I'm really happy about that. But my very first ever blog, I'm very proud to say, was about education, because coming from a social justice background, coming from an education and student activist background, I want to see the Greens broaden our scope in the Parliament and in our campaigning, and education is a key, fundamental part of our society, in including or excluding. I took that opportunity to write a blog about thanking a teacher. And I not only thanked my own teachers, and I do really, really thank them. I had some fantastic public school teachers who actually taught me about preferences, and I talked about this with some other Greens members. I grew up in Sydney. I went to a public high school. I went to a public primary school. I idolised Peter Garrett. He is in fact now the local member for the suburb that I grew up in. When he was in the nuclear disarmament party, they used to have meetings next door to my best friend's house, and I haven't told anybody this, we used to sit on the fence waiting for Peter Garrett to turn up. He never did, but they had nuclear disarmament party meetings next door, and we got really involved, and I was incredibly involved in the Palm Sunday rallies of the 80s. And I had fantastic hippie teachers at my public school who taught us about politics, and they actually ran a mock election, and I ran for the NDP. Now, in the real election, Peter Garrett stood for the NDP. The Labor Party and the Liberal Party preferenced each other, and he didn't win. At my school, we rocked it in. I'm hoping that bodes well for March 20th. We do need at least 80,000 people, if not more, to vote Green, number one, come March. But I've been always quite passionate about education. It's a real key to opportunity for anyone, no matter what walk of life you come from. It's a great gift to be given a good education. So I thanked my teachers for that. Now, the Brown government hasn't been quite so nice to teachers over the past few years. They didn't thank teachers, they've in fact, instead of the obligatory or the traditional battle, they've actually given them arbitration. An 18-month arbitration, which I gather is the longest arbitration in our state. Now in that arbitration, not only have they put the teachers through hell and back, simply holding out against pay justice, they've also argued in support of increased class sizes in public schools. And yet at the same time, with our so-called education revolution sweeping the country, we've found enough money to put $7 million into those big black signs in every school project that you see, promoting the education revolution. We've also found a lot of time to talk about beating schools and teachers over the heads with things like league tables. Now this really concerns me. I don't know if people here know very much about league tables, and given that I'm also from New South Wales, do apologise, but I don't know if people here remember Mount Druitt High School in 1996, which was a contemporary school finishing up at the same time as I. Some of my friends went to Mount Druitt High. They lived quite far away from me, but having grown up in a housing commission estate, actually, there was a bit of crossover. Now, Mount Druitt High School, the Year 10 class of 1996, woke up one day to find their school photo on the front page of the Daily Telegraph with a banner that read, "The class we failed." The story went on to say, this was the poorest performing class in the state. Our education system had failed them. I remember seeing the photo, I remember feeling for those people who were my age. And I've actually been thinking about league tables in that context, because this is where the league tables will end up. If we have these heated debates, these polemic debates about league tables as if schools were soccer teams, then this is the sort of thing that's going to happen. Now, I'd like to just share with you a better news story in some ways about the Mount Druitt High School of that year, that class. 28 of those students, of the 32 I think it was, actually took Murdoch to court. And it took about 5 years, and it put them through hell and back. Not only the story in the first place, it had made many of them depressed, and made many of them out of school, and made many of them afraid to a job, what suburb they came from for many years, that had stigmatised and othered this group of young people for much of their lives. They took that up to court. Now, it took many, many years, but they actually did win. They settled with an agreement that they're not allowed to talk about it, however, so I'm not sure how much of a win that is. And I'm not sure that we will see other schools and other classes being put through the same hell. Now, one of the students I was reading about today, she's actually gone on to work with people who suffer from mental illness and depression, and she was back to use the experiences that she gained from that horrific experience to help them. So I would like to congratulate that class, but they should never have had to go through that. I've long believed that education is an investment of cost. I worked for many years for a senator that heartily believed that, and I in fact produced campaign stickers for her proclaiming that. They were always instant sellouts. We always had to do repeats. I heartily believe that most of us in the community do believe that education is an investment, not a cost, and that South Australia's future does lie in a publicly funded, healthy education system. I look forward to standing beside the teachers from this election, but I really look forward to a day when I don't need to. Now, I've talked a little bit about fear, because I think the change that I'm hungry for is to get rid of the fear. And my friend Kirsten, who's here tonight, hates Lily Allen, but I love that song where she actually says that we're all being overtaken by the fear. I think many of us are. We're frightened of other people, we're frightened to go out at night, we're frightened of crime, we're frightened of what the media tells us we should be scared of. And we need to actually step back from that, take that fear out of our lives as much as we possibly can, and take back control, take back hope. And I know that Obama, when he talked about hope, really tapped into a chord with the American people. And I think it was fantastic, and like many of you, I sat up and waited to see the inauguration speech. I fell asleep to the musicians. I don't know if I missed much. But it was incredibly hopeful day to see a black man in the White House. I hope for a day where we don't realise it's actually a black man in the White House. It's just a good man in the White House, or a good woman in the White House, or a good woman reads in the school. I'm really proud to be pre-selected to stand for the Greens. It's the only party that really speaks and says the things that I think. When I turn on the TV or when I listen to the radio, if I watch Question Time in Parliament, which isn't, I end up either turning it off or getting grumpy or shouting at it. Unless I hear the Greens, unless it's Kristen Mill or Sarah Hanson-Young or Mark Parnell. And then I think, that person speaks some sense. I hope there's some other ones out there. And I'm sure there's actually many, many of us out there who think differently from the old parties. I think we don't actually even have a two-old party system anymore in this country. We have one party that's in control. It's the corporate party. There's a left faction, there's a right faction. But pretty much when it comes down to it, they're much the same. The Greens offer hope, the Greens offer a change that we can believe in. The Greens say that, sorry. And I think only the Greens, with our principles, with our visions, are the party of the future for this country. Are the party that will see South Australians prosper, that will see Australians prosper, and representation in the state. And I look forward to working with yet another senator sometime in the coming year. I believe the only way is up for us, and I really am overwhelmed by the number of people here tonight who do appear hopeful, who have responded in a hopeful way to the fearful discussions that I've touched upon tonight. And I look forward to working with you all, and I look forward to having more Greens voices in our South Australian media and strong red future for this state. Thank you.